Hello to all my future real estate professionals. Welcome to Real Estate Careers 101. I'm your instructor, LaShawn Parker. Now, as we discussed in Saturday's class, we went over what the residential real estate sector consists of. And today I want to go over a few of the career opportunities within residential real estate. Now, I like to consider these to be more traditional roles. So I'll talk about them, the license requirements, and also some career paths within these categories. So we're going to look at sales, leasing, and property management today. Now, what is residential real estate sales? Residential sales are a combination of activities that involve buying and selling real estate or real property. Now, in being able to sell or represent others in the buying and selling of real estate, an individual is required to have an active real estate sales license or a salesperson's license. Now, the license requirements for obtaining your salesperson license is different in every state, so I won't get into the particulars of that, but I encourage you to visit your state's real estate office or real estate commission office within your state and find out what those requirements are. Typically, you have to be at least 18 years of age at the time that you take the state exam, which there is a state exam. There's also educational classes that you are required to fulfill. And then also there's a criminal background. So any of you that might have some little hidden secrets, you want to make sure that you're able to obtain your real estate license in the state in which you plan to reside and or transact real estate. Now, in addition to real estate sales, there is something called a real estate broker. Now, a lot of times those terms are used interchangeably, but there is a difference between a salesperson and a broker. Now, a real estate broker is started off as a salesperson, but most states require that you're a salesperson for a certain amount of time, typically 2 or 3 years before you're able to take the broker exam. Once you are a broker, you have the opportunity to open up your own brokerage firm. A brokerage firm for residential real estate is responsible for running a business. You are holding the license of real estate agents because as a salesperson, you're not yet able to just transact real estate without being under the umbrella of a broker. So every salesperson has a broker that holds their real estate license during their time of participating and engaging in real estate activity, sales activity. All right. So a real estate broker is responsible for their sales agents. They're making sure that the contracts are in compliance with state laws. You're making sure that your client's activities and marketing activities are aligned with national laws, that there's no discrimination. You're also running the business side of it, the marketing, the financials, and so on and so forth. Now, if you are a real estate broker, but maybe you don't want to have your own brokerage firm, you're also able to be an associate broker. And this varies the way it's done in different states. But typically, as a salesperson, you qualify and you take and pass the broker exam, but then you have another broker hold your real estate license. And you do basically act as a salesperson, but you are legally a broker. So there's a salesperson, there's an associate broker, and there is a broker. Now, quickly, I want to dive into the leasing side. As a leasing agent or a leasing consultant, you are working with tenants and owners of property to assist them in housing the tenants that will occupy the property. Now, those leasing activities include marketing, they include screening of the potential tenants, and they also include preparing of the lease, reviewing the lease, making sure it's executed, and making sure that the move-in is handled correctly. Now, some states require that leasing agents are licensed and some do not. Typically, if you work for a large apartment building, you don't have to be licensed, but again, that may vary in some states. Now, property management is the management of someone else's property, or it could be your own property. In my view, property management consists of 3 key areas. One is managing the property. The other is managing the tenant. And then there's also managing the owner or the landlord of the property. So you're kind of doing 3 different things. You're making sure that everything is in compliance. You're making sure that the owner of the property is maximizing their investment. You're making sure the tenant is doing and complying with what the lease states. And so that is the role of a property manager. Again, on a property management side, similar to leasing, you don't have to be licensed in some scenarios. However, I want to warn you to be careful and make sure that you pay attention to your state's licensing requirements, because even if you are a non-licensed person and say you have a relative or friend that has a property or properties in your state, there are requirements that even though you're unlicensed, you may still be required to be licensed to manage that friend's property. So make sure you understand what those requirements are, but that's a whole different scenario. But again, I wanted to focus today on the core three areas, which are sales, leasing, and property management, what those requirements are. And look, I know this is a very high level overview. Again, there's free resources on my website at lprealestatecareers.com. And I have an upcoming course that goes into way more detail on every career path in residential, commercial, and corporate real estate. Thank you for joining. I'll have another video tomorrow that will give more details about different careers that are available in real estate. Have a good one. Talk with you then.